The following review is intended for entertainment purposes and targeted for adult fans of the series.
Hello there, heroes! I'm the Pumpkin Ranger, and welcome to another Lightning Collection figure review. As you can see right here, we have one of the more interesting figures in the Lightning Collection. This is the Dino Thunder White Ranger, one of my favorite Power Ranger suits, and I think a lot of Ranger fans feel that way. But of course, there's a little bit of controversy and interesting things going on with this figure. First of all, this figure was very late to be announced by Hasbro, actually appearing on store shelves, and I believe it was Malaysia, and I think even in some stores in the United States, before Hasbro even bothered to confirm it and announce it. And then, of course, and I'll talk about this more in detail as I get into the review, but of course you have this helmet, which is not really the best looking situation there. That's a very unfortunate helmet. Especially, you compare it directly, you see that amazing box art right there. And yeah, it kind of falls short. But we'll talk about this figure as a whole, and we'll just get right into it here. You see the box art here. You'll notice that the box is gray instead of white, which does kind of work out for the White Ranger, but that would be because, at least in the United States, this was a Walgreens exclusive. That fantastic box art of the White Ranger, Trent, there. We turn to the side, and you see the Power Rangers Dino Thunder logo, and that art goes around that way. Does not go all the way around on the back, and that's kind of a thing, is like, before I was confused about what determined the color of the box, and then it was explained to me that it was a retail exclusive thing. I don't know what determines whether the box art folds over onto the back of the box or not, but so we'll see. Here you see the back of box pose, which should be pretty easy to match. Unfortunately, and again, I talk about matching the back of box render. That helmet looks really good, but that is not what we got in the box. But that effect part looks very cool. And we'll see about the rest of it. That single box art on the side right there. Top of the box is black. Bottom of the box has words on it. Let's pop it open. In a weird sort of way, I can almost kind of give them credit for the backing card, because the red is on the visor, and that gray, that's why this is almost, because that gray really should be black to represent the black on the suit, but the white in the middle is kind of a negative space allusion to the White Ranger suit, and these backing cards are always background of white, so you can't make one of the sides white because that wouldn't make any sense. Extra hands are interesting, not quite like normal. We've got kind of an open hand and then kind of a fingers curled hand. I know this is bucking the trend a little bit to have the human head on the figure this soon, but obviously the helmet is something we're going to be talking about in detail, so I just wanted to go ahead and get this part of it out of the way. Here he is, Trent Fernandez himself, and by the way, that actually confuses me a little bit, because we know that Trent was adopted by Anton Mercer, and considering his age now, you would figure that that adoption was done when he was a minor. That even if Trent was a senior at Reefside High School and was 18, he'd obviously been adopted some years before that. So I'm not really sure why his name is not Trent Mercer. As far as I remember, Dino Thunder really doesn't go into detail on that. Just his name is Trent Fernandez, and he was adopted by Anton Mercer. So, I don't know. Anyway, the figure itself, there are things that I like and there are things that I don't like. The suit is fantastic. Again, I've always loved the Dino Thunder white suit. The shield is very nice. That is a movable part. You can actually, I think that will come off. So if you remove the figure's head, you are able to completely remove the shield piece, which I think is a very nice touch, even though there was no context in Dino Thunder in which it came off. And as much as I like this shield, I actually really like the suit without it. It gives it a very sleek look and is just pretty neat. I do kind of wish that they had put a symbol on the chest. It still looks pretty neat without it. By the way, to bring the shield back in, you can see there's a peg and there is a hole between his shoulder blades to put that back in. So the gold on this figure is all very, very nice. Even the cuffs there, you can just see it is that nice shimmery gold. Even the holster is that shimmery gold. It's very, very nice. I like the detailing here on the boots, since that's actually three-dimensional and not just painted on. That's very nice. But there are some areas where this figure is missing paint, and one that sticks out to me the most, sadly, is Trent's morpher. That is one solid piece of white plastic, and that's kind of sad because they've been pretty good about details like that. It always just looks cheaper to see a solid white chunk of plastic on something that you know is supposed to have paint details on it. The weapon here is kind of a microcosm of the figure. It has very beautiful, shiny gold on it, but it should have some other paint colors. We'll talk about how that doesn't match the back of the box in a moment, but I like the shape, and the gold is good, but that's the only color there is on it. This effect part is really neat, of course, and no, not just because it's orange, although that certainly helps. Just the streaking arrows of that attack that Trent does with his sword. It's very pretty, a very big effect for this line of kind of plastic effects that they do. Very nice. But now, of course, we have to talk about the most disappointing part of this figure, and that is, of course, the helmet, which is clearly just a mistake. It's missing a ton of paint. That visor doesn't look good at all. It's very thin. I will say, if you can see there, they got those eyes on there. That's a very small detail that they got right, but just the way this is missing that outlining on the visor and just how thin that looks, it's really unfortunate, and it's disappointing because I will say with my Lightning Collection figures, I actually display them with their human heads on whenever possible, and I have the helmets actually sitting in a line that I think is a neat part of that display. So this wouldn't bother me necessarily as much, but for anybody who displays these with their helmets on, it's just so visually distracting and really takes a lot away. All right, moving on to matching the back of the box and posability to the back of the box, and this is where this figure is going to lose a lot of points. Again, that helmet obviously nowhere close. The morpher, you can see on the back of the box, is supposed to have painted details on it. It does not on the figure. The saber, the sword, whatever you call that, there's a black stripe on the middle that's not there on the final figure. The head on the handle actually looks shinier on the back of the box, so that's not really a match. The body looks pretty good. I think there's more of those spiky marks on the legs on the render than on the final version. And also, this may not have been something they were able to do, but it doesn't seem to go over the joints in the legs the same way that it does. I will say this is standing up pretty well for the type of pose that I have it in. The arm is the thing, and I'm not sure if this is so much the shield or just the body design. That right arm doesn't seem to come across the body nearly as far as it does on the render there, and that just kind of like now his hand is stuck in that energy and where the sword is placed and where the energy is placed and everything, and that's kind of a disappointment there a little bit. Not a big deal. Disappointment is probably too strong of a word, but just, you know, again, I really wish that the backs of these boxes were more accurately conveying what these figures can do. Even if they are CGI renders, they should at least be based on reality, right? But I guess this is gonna wrap up this review. I really wish I had more positive things to say. I just really wish, you know, there was a way that that Hasbro could make some kind of update to this figure, some kind of change that would just improve the quality. I mean, maybe if they could, I don't know, release some kind of update to the helmet, I think that would really tie this figure together. But that's the land of wishes and dreams, so I just have to focus on reviewing this figure and giving it a final recommendation. And hang on a second. My sensors are showing a teleportation signal from Rhode Island? Is Hasbro sending something in to get it in for my review? Kaizoku, drop the shields. Let it through.
You got it!
What's that? Would you look at that? How interesting is that? Okay, fun and games aside, sarcasm aside, if you will, it's kind of ironic that I was playing that joke, considering I have specifically delayed this review until this came in. As most of you are aware at this point, this time Hasbro did completely acknowledge that the ugly helmet on this figure was a factory error that unfortunately made it to full and complete shipping. And they made good. In case you haven't heard at this point, you can access Hasbro's live chat, which actually unfortunately has rather limited hours, but if you can manage to sneak on there, they will ask you for some very simple to get information about your figure and your address and ship you absolutely for free a replacement helmet. And how much better does this look? The red on the visor is thicker and more pronounced, and it has that black outlining that really serves as an excellent contrast and seriously just ties this entire helmet together. Now, I will say one thing that I have seen that's been a little unfortunate is that some people's replacement helmets, those eyes that I praised just earlier, have been misaligned. I was fortunate enough that mine are not. But it is unfortunate and kind of frustrating to hear about another artistic error on a helmet that is replacing an artistic error. You just start to wonder why they can't just get this right the first time. But anyway, let's pop this thing on. Oh, Trent, there you are. I was wondering who that imposter that was wearing your suit was. Yeah, cannot stress how night and day this helmet difference is for this figure. It really ties everything together and just looks fantastic. Funny enough, one thing that I've heard people have been doing with their factory defect White Ranger helmets, if you will, is that a lot of people picked up that Lord Draken Evo 3 set. For the record, I'm not getting that. I'm not really interested in that suit. It's not my favorite version of Draken, and I have a Lord Draken, so he is represented, and I'm not a completionist when it comes to the Lightning Collection. So I don't really have an interest in picking that up, especially at that price, but it comes with broken Ranger helmets, and a lot of people have just been adding this other helmet to that pile. And I think that's a really neat idea, and it's just kind of maybe sun-faded, you know, in the ages since Lord Draken defeated Trent and took his helmet. So that's a really creative idea, but I would say, and I would hope, and I think I heard that future releases of this figure, you know, supplemental shipments and all that, will have the updated helmet. I don't know if I've seen about any of those being in the wild, but even if not, it's a little difficult to say just because of the difficulty of Hasbro's chat hours. It's usually something like 9 a.m. to only like 3 p.m. Monday through Friday. That works out just fine for me because I work at a theme park where I work weekends, but I know a lot of people would have difficulty doing that. You may be able, I mean, you can probably email Hasbro's support team as well, but email, when you're doing a live chat, you're talking to somebody and they'll respond to you right away. When you're doing an email, it's a little more difficult to think about when somebody might look at that email and respond and get your case taken care of. but I suppose that's an option for you as well. You could also try to call their offices, although that's probably also normal business hours as well. But it is what it is, and I think it really makes a difference. I can recommend this figure. I give it my thumbs up recommendation based on everything from the neck down and the replacement helmet, which is easy-ish enough to get a hold of, you know. So there is that. Like I said, this has always been one of my favorite suits. It's a great looking figure. Oh, I meant to point out the Drago sword. That's what it's called. The Drago sword here, that little head I mentioned on the back that's not quite as gold as it is on the box, it's also flipped. I noticed that when the blade is curving up like this, here the head is upside down, but on the box it's right side up. So to be honest, I'm not sure which of those details is wrong, but again, it's something that doesn't match on the back of the box. But this is a beautiful figure. It's a worthwhile addition to your collection of Lightning collection figures, and I would heartily recommend it. You are going to have to take the extra step of getting the helmet replaced unless you find it in the wild with its proper helmet. But hey, I actually, you know, having this is part of the conversation. It's a little conversation piece as a part of the Lightning collection. That's going to wrap up another Lightning collection figure review. Thank you, heroes, so much as always for watching. Now that the video's done, you can let me know what you thought of this video down in the comments below. Do you like this figure? Are you interested in picking it up? Let me know by leaving me a comment right down below this video. While you're down there, make sure you smack that thumbs up button to let me know that you enjoyed this video. Please make sure you're subscribed to my channel to see all of my videos. Ring the bell, get your notifications set up so you're notified whenever I post brand new videos, such as these random every so often Lightning collection figure reviews. Although I will tell you, after this, I have 6 more figures. I'm going to try to match them up somewhat, but there's going to be some Lightning collection review content on the way, so make sure you're subscribed and ring the bell and get your notifications set up so you see when those come out. And if you have any interest in supporting this Lightning collection habit of mine, you can head over to Patreon or Ko-fi, search for Orange Ranger videos, and toss my channel a little financial support, for which I would be incredibly grateful. And by the way, I'm going to throw you a little hint here. Another way you can support the channel soon is going to be something that rhymes with merchandise store. You didn't hear that from me. Yes, you did, but don't worry about it. Until next time, heroes, may the power protect you.